The station was cold in a way that did not just touch the skin. It felt like it crept into the bones, into the breath, into the quiet thoughts people tried not to think. Space Station K-47 floated at the edge of a forgotten trade route, far from bright worlds and busy lanes. Most travelers only came here when they had nowhere else to go. Eliasmar walked through the narrow metal corridor with his hands tucked into the sleeves of his worn jacket. The lights above flickered in slow, tired rhythms, casting long shadows on the floor. His boots made soft sounds against the steel, the only noise in a place that once held thousands but now barely held a few hundred. He stopped in front of a small wall terminal and pressed his credit chip against it. The screen glowed faintly. Balance, 1 credit. Elias sighed. 1 credit, just enough to rent a heat pod for the night or buy a warm meal, not both. He pulled the chip back and slipped it into his pocket. He had learned long ago how to live with less money, less comfort, less hope. But even he knew that a night in the cold without shelter could be dangerous. The station's heating systems barely worked in this sector. The outer rings were always freezing. He turned and kept walking. The market corridor opened up ahead, a long stretch of small stalls and empty booths. Most of the vendors had left months ago. Only a few remained, selling simple food, spare parts, and recycled clothing. Elias passed them without stopping. He was not hungry enough to spend his last credit yet. That was when he saw her. She was sitting near a broken heat pipe at the far end of the corridor. At first, Elias thought she was some kind of statue. Her body looked like it was made of smooth crystal, shaped like a person but glowing faintly from the inside. Soft light pulsed under her surface, dim and unsteady, like a dying star. She was wrapped in thin fabric that did little to keep out the cold. Her arms were pulled close to her body and her head was bowed. Elias slowed his steps. He had seen many alien species in his travels, but never one like this. Her glow flickered when a cold breeze from a nearby air vent swept past. The light grew weaker, almost fading. He looked around, no one else seemed to notice her. A pair of dockworkers walked by, laughing, their breath visible in the air. They did not even glance in her direction. Elias approached carefully. "Hey," he said softly. She lifted her head. Her face was smooth and gentle, shaped like a human's but made of clear, glowing crystal. Her eyes were like small pools of light. She spoke in a slow, careful voice. "Hello, human." Her words came from a translator band around her neck. The device glowed as it worked. "Are you okay?" Elias asked. She hesitated, the light inside her dimmed further. "I am cold," she said. "My name is Thisara. I have been here for 3 cycles." 3 cycles. That was a long time to sit in the cold. "Why?" Elias asked. "I am waiting for passage," she replied. "I do not have enough credits to leave." Elias nodded. He understood that problem very well. He glanced at the broken heat pipe behind her. It leaked only a weak stream of warm air. It was not enough for someone like her. "What species are you?" he asked. "My people are called the Luminari," she said. "We are born from warmth and light. Cold drains our energy." As if to prove her point, her glow flickered again, weaker than before. Elias felt something twist inside his chest. "Where are you going?" he asked. "My homeworld," Thisara said. "I carry this." She opened her hands. Resting in her palms was a small, glowing shard. It looked like a piece of glass, but inside it swirled soft colors like memories made of light. "This is the memory shard of my mate," she said. "He passed during our journey. I must return this to our home so his light can join the great glow." Elias did not fully understand, but he could hear the meaning in her voice. "I'm sorry," he said. She dipped her head slightly. "Thank you." A cold wind passed through the corridor again. Thisara shivered, her glow fading even more. Elias looked down at his pocket. 1 credit. He thought about the heat pod waiting at the shelter hub, a small metal capsule where he could sleep warm for the night. Without it, he would have to find a corner and wrap himself in his jacket and hope for the best. He looked back at Thisara. "How much is passage?" he asked. 3 credits, she said. "I have 2. Elias almost laughed, of course. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the chip. The small piece of metal felt heavier than it should. "Come with me," he said. She looked confused but stood slowly. Her movements were careful, like each step took effort. They walked to a nearby terminal. Elias pressed his chip against the screen. He selected the option for a portable thermal pod. The price appeared. 1 credit. He hesitated for only a moment. Then he confirmed the purchase. A small pod rolled out from a storage slot in the wall. It unfolded into a simple, glowing bubble of warmth. Elias guided it toward Thesara. "This is for you," he said, her eyes widened. "But human, you need this." "I'll manage," Elias said with a small shrug. Thesara stepped inside the pod. The glow inside her body brightened almost instantly. The crystal surface of her skin shone like soft sunrise. She looked at him with something like wonder. "Why would you give this to me?" she asked. Elias scratched the back of his head. "Because you looked colder than I felt." She was quiet for a moment, then she bowed her head deeply. "My people believe that true warmth comes from choice," she said. "You have chosen to give." Elias smiled a little. "It's just a pod." She did not answer, but her glow grew brighter. Elias stepped back. "I'll be around," he said. "Stay warm." He turned and walked away, heading toward the darker part of the station. The cold hit him almost right away. He pulled his jacket tighter and kept moving. He found a quiet corner near a storage bay and sat down against the wall. The metal was freezing. He closed his eyes and tried to rest. Time passed slowly. His breath came out in small clouds. His fingers felt stiff. He shifted, trying to stay warm, but it did not help much. He thought about Thesara glowing safely in the pod. A small smile crossed his face. At least someone was warm tonight. He must have drifted into a light sleep because the next thing he felt was warmth, not just a little warmth. Real, deep warmth like sunlight on his skin. He opened his eyes. Thesara stood in front of him. Her glow was brighter than before, filling the small space with soft, golden light. The cold seemed to pull back from her like it did not dare come close. "You should not be here," Elias said, sitting up. "You need the pod." "I am warm now," she said gently. She reached out her hand. Light flowed from her palm, soft and slow, wrapping around Elias like a blanket. The cold faded from his body. His fingers relaxed. His breathing became easy. How are you doing this?" he asked. "My people can share warmth when we receive it through kindness," she said. "Your choice gave me more than heat, it gave me energy." Elias stared at her, speechless. Around them, small lights began to turn on. The station's systems, long quiet, hummed softly. A nearby terminal flickered to life. Thesara's glow pulsed in a slow, steady rhythm. Elias stood up slowly, feeling stronger than he had in weeks. "What does this mean?" he asked. She looked down at the memory shard in her hand. The colors inside it were moving now, forming faint shapes that looked like stars and lines. "I do not know yet," she said, "but I believe something has been awakened." Far above them, deep in the station's core, ancient systems stirred. Old lights blinked on for the first time in years. Silent sensors began to watch. Elias and Thesara stood together in the quiet corridor, wrapped in shared warmth, unaware that their simple choice had just changed more than one cold night. It had started something the stars had been waiting for. The next cycle began with a soft hum instead of the usual cold silence. Elias woke up on the metal floor, expecting the sharp bite of freezing air, but instead he felt gentle warmth around him. It was not as strong as the warmth from Thesara's light the night before, but it was enough to make his fingers move easily and his breath come out steady. He sat up and looked around. The corridor lights were brighter than he remembered. Not new, not fully fixed, but glowing in a calm, steady way instead of flickering. A nearby wall screen showed simple station messages scrolling across it, something Elias had not seen working in weeks. He stood and stretched, still half wondering if he was dreaming. Then he saw her. Thesara stood near the corner, her body glowing like soft morning light. The colors inside her crystal form moved slowly like gentle waves. The memory shard rested in her hands, its glow matching hers. "You are awake," she said. "I didn't freeze," Elias replied, looking at his hands. "That's new." A small, musical sound came from her. Elias guessed it was her version of a laugh. "The warmth stayed with you," she said. "It seems your body holds it well." Elias rubbed his arms. "I'm not complaining." They began walking back toward the market corridor. As they moved, Elias noticed people staring. A pair of traders paused mid-conversation to watch them pass. A station worker leaned against a wall, eyes wide, following the trail of soft light Thesara left behind. Even the small service drones floated slower, their sensors turning toward her glow. "What's with everyone?" Elias whispered. "Perhaps they feel it too," Thesara said. "Warmth is not only for the body, it can be felt in the air." The market corridor was busier than the day before. A few new stalls had opened, and more people moved through the space. The cold still existed, but it felt weaker, like it had stepped back. Elias spotted a food vendor he recognized, an old man with metal arms who sold simple heat packs and soup. The man leaned forward as Elias approached. "What did you do, kid?" he asked. "Me," Elias said. "Nothing," the man nodded toward Thesara. The station's core systems just ran a self-check for the first time in years. Power levels are up in 3 sectors. That doesn't happen for no reason. Elias looked at Thesara. She tilted her head slightly. "I did not touch your machines," she said. "Maybe not directly," Elias muttered. They moved on. As they walked, Thesara spoke softly. "Last cycle, when you gave me the pod, something changed inside me. My people call it resonance. It is when warmth given freely creates more warmth in return." "That sounds useful," Elias said. "It is rare," she replied. "Most beings in the galaxy trade warmth for something else. Credits, power, safety." Elias thought about his empty pocket. "Yeah, that sounds about right." They reached a central platform that overlooked the station's docking ring. Ships of all sizes rested in their bays, some old and patched, some sleek and new. Elias noticed something strange. More ships were arriving. A long cargo vessel slid into a docking lane, its lights bright and clean. A smaller scout ship followed behind it. "That wasn't like this yesterday," Elias said. "No," Thesara agreed. "Your station is being noticed." A calm, artificial voice echoed through the air. "Attention all residents. The station council requests the presence of Elias Mar and the luminary traveler Thesara at the central chamber." Elias stopped walking. "They said my name," he said slowly. Thesara's glow pulsed once. "Yes." "Pretty sure that's not good," Elias added. They made their way to the central chamber, a wide, round room with a tall ceiling made of clear panels that showed the stars beyond. The station council waited in a half-circle of seats. Humans and aliens of different shapes and sizes sat together, all watching them. Elias felt very small. A tall figure stood. She had silver skin and eyes like dark glass. "Elias Mar," she said. "You arrived on this station 3 weeks ago with no registered purpose." "Still true," Elias said. "And yet," she continued, "after your interaction with the luminary traveler, our station's ancient backup systems activated. Power flows we believed dead are now moving again." Thesara stepped forward. "It was not only him," she said. "It was the choice he made." The council members whispered among themselves. The silver-skinned leader raised a hand. "We have scanned the energy patterns around you. They do not match any known technology. They resemble something older." Thesara looked down at her memory shard. The colors inside it swirled faster. "This shard holds more than memory," she said. "It holds maps, pathways my people once used to spread warmth between worlds." Elias blinked. "You're telling me this little thing is a space map?" "In a way," Thesara said. "It shows places where energy can flow freely, where cold systems can be made warm again." The council leader leaned forward. "And you can activate these places." "I cannot alone," Thesara replied, "and neither can Elias. It is the connection between us that creates the effect." The room went quiet. Elias swallowed. "No pressure or anything." A low sound came from the ceiling. A large screen turned on, showing an image of the station's power core. Lines of light pulsed through it like veins. "This is what changed after last cycle," the leader said. "If this spreads, it could affect more than just our station." Elias looked at Thesara. "You didn't plan this, did you?" She shook her head. "No, but I believe it was meant to happen." Before anyone could speak again, an alert sounded. "Unknown vessels entering the outer ring," the station voice announced. The screen changed, showing 3 ships moving toward the docking lanes. Their designs were sharp and unfamiliar. The council leader stood. "They detected the energy shift. Others will too." Elias felt his heart beat faster. "We just wanted to stay warm." "Sometimes," Thesara said softly, "small warmth can be seen across great distances." The council quickly made a decision. "We cannot allow outside forces to take control of this," the leader said. "Elias Mar, Thesara, you will remain under our protection for now." "Lucky me," Elias muttered. They were given a small room near the central chamber. It was warmer than any place Elias had slept in a long time. Thesara sat on the floor, holding the memory shard. The light inside it painted moving stars on the walls. "My mate believed the galaxy could be connected by more than trade routes," she said. "He believed in shared warmth." Elias leaned against the wall. "Sounds like a good guy." "He was," she said. "Now perhaps his belief continues." Outside their door, voices echoed as station guards moved into position. The unknown ships docked and unfamiliar beings stepped onto the station. Elias looked at Thesara. Seems like things are getting bigger than us. She met his eyes, her glow steady and calm. You gave warmth when you had almost none. That is how big things begin. Elias smiled, a little nervous but also a little proud. The memory shard in Thesara's hands brightened, and new lines of light formed in the air, stretching outward like paths through the stars. Somewhere far away, in systems long cold and forgotten, something else stirred, answering the quiet call of shared warmth. And on a small, worn space station, a human with no credits and an alien widow with a glowing heart stood at the center of a story that was only just beginning. The station felt different now. It was not just warmer, it felt awake. Elias noticed it the moment he stepped out of the small room near the council chamber. The floor no longer felt like cold metal. The air did not bite at his skin. Soft light flowed through the hallways, not bright, but steady, like the station itself was breathing. Thesara walked beside him, her glow calm and even. The memory shard floated gently above her open hands, spinning slowly, sending thin lines of light across the walls and ceiling. People stood in doorways and along corridors, watching them pass. Some whispered. Others simply stared in quiet wonder. A young station worker approached them, holding a small device that beeped softly. The power levels are rising in every sector, the worker said. Not dangerously, just smoothly, like something is filling empty space. Elias scratched his head. We're really not trying to break anything, the worker smiled. For once, something is fixing this place instead. They reached the central platform again, where the council waited. The large screen behind them showed a wide view of the station and the nearby starfield. Thin threads of light now stretched from the station outward into space, faint but visible. The silver-skinned leader stepped forward. The energy you are creating is not staying here, she said. It is reaching beyond our systems. Thesara nodded. The pathways are opening. What pathways? Elias asked. Thesara lifted the memory shard higher. The colors inside it shifted, forming moving images in the air. Stars appeared, lines connected them like a glowing web across the galaxy. My people once built these links, she said. Not with machines, with shared warmth, with trust, with beings who could feel and give energy freely. Elias watched as one star dimmed in the image. That world is cold now, Thesara continued. Its systems are failing, its people are alone. Another star brightened, but when a connection is restored, the warmth flows again. The council members leaned closer. You are saying this can help entire worlds, one of them said. Yes, Thesara replied, but only if they choose to receive it. Before anyone could speak again, the lights in the chamber flickered. A deep, low hum rolled through the station. Elias grabbed the edge of a nearby table. That doesn't sound good. The screen changed, showing the station's power core. The flowing lines of light twisted and surged. A technician's voice came through the speakers. The core is reacting to the energy surge. It's not unstable, but it's confused. It's like it's waking up after a long sleep. The silver-skinned leader looked at Thesara. Can you guide it? Thesara hesitated. I can try, but I cannot do it alone. Elias felt every eye in the room turn to him. Of course, he muttered. Why wouldn't this be my job now? They were led deep into the station, past sealed doors and old corridors that had not been used in years. Dust floated in the air. Ancient symbols glowed faintly on the walls as Thesara passed, responding to her light. They reached the core chamber. It was huge. A wide open space with a tall, glowing structure in the center. Light flowed through it like a slow river. The hum filled Elias' chest, making his heart beat in time with it. Thesara stepped forward, holding the memory shard out toward the core. The shard shone brightly. Nothing happened. Elias felt a strange pull, like the warmth from Thesara was reaching for him. He took a step forward and stood beside her. I don't know what I'm supposed to do, he said. Just be here, she replied softly. The core's light shifted. A soft glow formed between Elias and Thesara, connecting them like a thread made of sunlight. Elias felt warmth spread through his chest, not hot, not heavy, but calm and strong. He thought about the cold nights he had spent alone, the empty pockets. The long walks with nowhere to go. He thought about Thesara sitting by a broken heat pipe glowing faintly in the dark. The thread of light grew brighter. The core responded. Light surged through the chamber, flowing smoothly now instead of twisting. The hum softened into a steady, peaceful sound. Across the station, lights grew brighter. Doors opened that had been sealed for years. Old systems came back to life. In the council chamber, the screen filled with new images. The glowing pathways in space stretched farther, touching distant stars. Elias stepped back, breathing hard. Did we just turn the station into a space lighthouse? Thesara's glow pulsed gently. You helped it remember how to share. News spread fast. By the next cycle, ships from nearby systems filled the docking ring. Traders, travelers, and leaders came to see the warm station, as people were starting to call it. Some came out of curiosity. Others came with hope. A small group from a failing mining colony approached Elias and Thesara on the platform. Our power grids are dying, their leader said. Our people are cold. We heard you might help. Elias looked at Thesara. She nodded. They stood together, and once again the thread of light formed between them. The memory shard projected a new pathway, connecting the station to the distant colony. The glow traveled. On the screen, the dim star of the colony brightened. The leader's eyes filled with tears. It's working. Word spread across systems. Worlds long ignored and forgotten began to reach out, but not everyone came with good intentions. One cycle, a group of officials from a powerful trade alliance arrived. Their ships were sleek and heavily equipped. Their leader, a tall figure with sharp eyes, met Elias in the council chamber. This energy you control is valuable, the leader said. With it, we could stabilize trade routes, control systems, and ensure order. Elias frowned. That doesn't sound like sharing. We prefer to call it management, the leader replied. Thesara stepped forward. Warmth cannot be owned. The leader's eyes narrowed. Everything can be owned. The memory shard dimmed slightly, as if responding to the tone in the room. Elias felt the warmth between him and Thesara weaken. He took a deep breath and spoke. I didn't give my last credit to start a business, he said. I gave it because someone was cold. The leader scoffed. Kindness is not a system. Maybe it should be, Elias said. The trade alliance ships left that cycle. The station grew quieter, but the glow in the stars continued to spread. Elias and Thesara spent their days helping where they could. They listened to stories. They shared warmth. They opened pathways. Elias began to feel like he belonged somewhere for the first time in his life. One evening, they stood by the clear panels, looking out at the glowing web of stars. I was lost when I came here, Elias said. Didn't have a plan, didn't have a future. Thesara's light softened. You chose to give when you had nothing. That is a future. The memory shard floated between them, shining brighter than ever. New paths formed in the light, stretching farther into space than before. Somewhere far beyond the station, something ancient and powerful noticed. Old systems deep in forgotten worlds began to stir. The galaxy, once cold and distant, was starting to feel connected again. And at the center of it all stood a human who once had one credit to his name, and an alien widow who carried light in her hands, ready to share warmth with every star willing to receive it. The station was no longer just a place between journeys. It had become a beginning. Elias stood on the central platform and watched ships arrive from every direction. Small cargo vessels, long-distance travelers, and even sleek diplomatic cruisers filled the docking ring. The air buzzed with voices from many species, all mixing together in a way Elias had never seen before. Thesara stood beside him, her glow soft but strong. The memory shard floated calmly between her hands, shining like a small star. It's strange, Elias said. I used to come to stations like this just to pass through. Now they're coming here for us. They are coming for what you gave, Thesara replied, not for us. The council chamber had been turned into a meeting hall. Representatives from distant worlds gathered in wide circles, sharing stories of what had changed since the pathways of warmth began to open. A tall, blue-skinned being spoke first. Our oceans had grown cold. Our power systems were failing. When the connection reached us, our world felt alive again. A small, round creature floated forward. We had lost contact with our outer colonies. Now the light guides our ships home. Elias listened, feeling a quiet pride he did not know how to describe. He had never been part of something like this before. Thesara's glow pulsed gently, as if each story added to her light. Later that cycle, the council leader approached them. The station cannot hold all this alone, she said. The galaxy is changing. Worlds are reaching out. We need a way to guide this movement. Elias rubbed his neck. Sounds like you're asking us to run the galaxy. Thesara smiled, a soft curve of light across her face. Not run, walk with. The idea formed slowly. Instead of one station, there would be many. Places where the pathways could open. places where travelers could come not just to trade, but to connect. The council began preparing ships designed for long journeys, fitted not with weapons or heavy cargo bays, but with open spaces and energy channels that responded to Thesara's light and Elia's presence. They called them warm carriers. The first launch was simple and quiet. Elias stood on the ramp of the ship, looking back at the station that had once been just another cold stop in his wandering life. He turned to Thesara. "You ready for this? I have already traveled through loss," she said. "Now I travel through hope." The ship lifted smoothly into space, following the glowing thread of a pathway that stretched toward a distant star. Their first stop was a small world that barely appeared on most star maps. Its cities were dim, its skies filled with thin clouds that blocked much of its sun. The people gathered as Elias and Thesara stepped onto the ground. They looked tired, curious, careful. Thesara raised the memory shard. Elias stood beside her. The thread of warmth formed between them, brighter than ever. It reached out, connecting to the world beneath their feet. The sky slowly cleared. Light poured through the clouds, warm and gentle. The people gasped. Some laughed. Others simply stood and felt the air change. Elias felt something shift inside himself, too. This was no longer about one cold night or one act of kindness. This was about carrying that moment forward again and again. They traveled for many cycles, to worlds of stone and dust where miners worked in endless gray, to floating cities that drifted above gas giants, to quiet colonies that had nearly given up on being noticed. Each time the warmth flowed. Each time new pathways appeared in the stars. Stories followed them, tales of a human who once gave his last credit and an alien widow who carried light in her hands. Children on distant worlds began to draw pictures of glowing threads connecting stars. One cycle, they arrived at a system where nothing answered. The star was dim. The planets were silent. Elias felt a heaviness in his chest. What if this one's too far gone? Thesara closed her eyes. Her glow softened, then grew steady again. "Warmth does not force," she said. "It waits." They stood together, holding the connection open. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, deep within the system, a faint light appeared, small, weak, but there. Elias smiled. "There you are." The light grew stronger, joining the web. As they returned to their ship, Elias looked out at the glowing galaxy. "I used to think humans were just trying to survive out here," he said. "Build bigger ships, faster drives, better tech." "And now?" Thesara asked. "Now I think we're good at something else," he replied. "We're good at caring even when it doesn't make sense." Thesara's glow brightened warmly. "That is why the pathways respond to you." On a quiet cycle, far from any world, Elias stood alone in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly before him, connected by thin lines of light. He thought about the day he walked through a cold corridor with one credit in his pocket. He had not known that moment would become a beginning. Thesara joined him, the memory shard glowing gently. "My mate once said the galaxy feels cold because we forget we can share its warmth," she said. Elias nodded. "Guess we're helping it remember." The warm carriers continued their journeys. New travelers joined them. Humans, aliens, and beings from worlds Elias could barely imagine. They learned how to listen, how to stand together, how to let the warmth flow. The galaxy slowly changed. Trade routes became meeting paths. Stations became homes. Distant worlds became neighbors. And the story spread. Not as a legend of power or conquest, but as a simple tale told in many languages. A human with nothing gave something. An alien who had lost everything shared what she had left. Together, they reminded the stars that even in the coldest places, warmth could be chosen. Elias and Thesara stood side by side at the front of their ship, watching another world light up for the first time. He took a slow breath. "Think the galaxy will ever go back to the way it was?" he asked. Thesara shook her head gently. "Once warmth is shared, it is remembered." The ship moved forward, following a new glowing path into the endless dark. And wherever it went, the cold gave way to light, and the stars learned, again and again, what kindness looked like when it traveled across the universe.